What if I told you, as a Christian, you already believe in progressive revelation? Now, you may have not heard that specific term before, but it is something you already believe in. As a Christian, we read the Bible, which we know is made up of many books. We commonly call it the Old Testament and the New Testament, but really it's just many books put together. That means we believe in Abraham, we believe in Moses, and of course we believe in Jesus Christ. That's already a progression over hundreds of years. This is progressive revelation. What I'm talking about here with those three prophets is three different voices at three different times with three distinct revelations. And yet we understand they are all part of God's message unfolding over time. And it doesn't stop there. As Christians, we are waiting for the return of Christ because we know humanity still needs guidance and we know there's more to learn. This means we're expecting the next revelation, the next Christ teacher, the next moment where God reaches humanity directly again. So whether you've heard the term or not, this is progressive revelation. The same God who sent Abraham is the same God who sent Moses and the same God who sent Jesus. So progressive revelation shows us that God doesn't teach humanity everything all at once. Instead, he teaches us step by step, age by age, civilization by civilization. Here's how I like to think of it. As someone who grew up in the United States, progressive revelation is like going to grade school. Imagine humanity is in one big classroom, and God is the principal. And throughout history, he sends us teachers. Now, in this analogy, Abraham is like grade 1 teacher, and then Moses is your grade 2 teacher, and Jesus is your grade 3 teacher. Each one comes with a new school year, not to replace the previous teacher, but to build on them. So what happens when you get a new teacher? When you go from second grade to third grade? Your new teacher doesn't say, everything you learned last year was wrong. No, on the contrary, they say, let's review what you've learned, and now let's take you to the next level. This is exactly what the prophets of God do. They reaffirm the past, expand the teachings, and give humanity what it needs for its particular age. You might find this interesting. Every major prophet of God has always done two things. They always reaffirm the prophets before them, and they always foretell the coming of another after them. And indeed, as Christians today, we are still waiting for the return of Christ. And here's something many Christians already know. Christ is not a last name. It is a title. It comes from the Greek word Christos, which means the anointed one. So when we say Jesus Christ, we are also saying Jesus, the anointed one. So when we talk about the return of Christ, we're talking about the return of the anointed one. The same Spirit, the same divine authority appearing again. So progressive revelation is not repetition, it's continuation. It's not contradiction, it's expansion, it's growth. It's humanity developing throughout the ages of time in the classroom of God. You'll notice a new school teacher doesn't repeat the same lesson, but builds upon what was already learned. And they always review the past to prepare you for what's next. And Jesus himself said, I have many things to say unto you, but you cannot bear them now. Could not a school teacher say the same thing at the end of a school year? I have many things to say unto you, but you cannot bear them now. There is more to learn, but the student isn't ready yet. That's not the end of teaching. That is the promise of more. Now think about this. As a child in the United States, you had 3 months of summer break. No rules, no structure, just freedom. You're outside playing, doing whatever you want. Then suddenly you're back in the school seat. A new teacher walks in and says, all right, time to learn. What would be your reaction? A little resistance, perhaps? A little challenging? And what about the teacher? For the last 3 months, these kids have been running around doing whatever they want. And now this teacher has to get them organized and ready to learn. I have to say, I have the utmost respect for school teachers. They have a challenging job, and yet it is essential for our growth. And interestingly, this is exactly what happens with every prophet of God. When they come, the majority does not welcome them, not because they are wrong, but because change is uncomfortable and it is challenging. And yet, despite the persecution all the prophets have faced, their teachings and their faith not only survive, but grow and flourish. When a religion first appears, it's like a divine springtime. The prophet comes and everything begins again. And despite resistance, those teachings grow and they flourish into a summer season where individuals are transformed and societies are united. And that is when you begin to see great civilizations rise throughout history because truth is being lived. But over time, autumn does come, and this is where you see division begin. Different groups form within society, interpretations of the holy writings differ, and eventually a period of confusion, darkness, disunity, and even warfare. But after winter, spring always comes again. A new teacher appears, a new beginning, a new chapter. If you're a Christian, you already believe Christ will return. That means you already believe God is not silent. God is not finished. God will send us a new teacher, a new Christ. So I wonder, are we ready to recognize him? Are we searching with our own eyes, with our own heart? Or are we only seeing what we've been told to see? Because many were waiting for the Messiah when Jesus came, and yet they missed him. So maybe, just maybe, we've missed him again.